Hi, welcome back to another Bible study. This is going to be the final episode of the life of Christ. It's going to be part 11. And we got a lot of reading to do today, so we're going to jump right into it. Matthew chapter 26, verse 14. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests, and said unto them, What will ye give me, and I will deliver him unto you? And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. And from that time he sought opportunity to betray him. What do you think the reason Judas betrayed Jesus was? According to Mark chapter 10, verse 35, And James and John, the son of Zebedee, came unto him, saying, Master, we would that thou shouldest do for us whatsoever ye shall desire. And he said unto them, What would ye that I should do for you? They said unto him, Grant unto us that we may sit, one on the right hand, and one on the other, on thy left hand, in thy glory. John and James wanted a place in Jesus' kingdom. But the kingdom that the disciples were talking about was a physical kingdom. When Jesus overthrew Rome, and most likely all the disciples thought Jesus would only one day take over Rome, something happened though. Either Jesus prophesying his death multiple times to the disciples, or Jesus allowing Mary to pour out years' worth of money in perfume and praised her for it. Something made them realize that the kingdom wasn't physical, but it was spiritual. And Judas got greedy. He betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, which was the equivalent in today's money of approximately $600. Now the first day of the feast was unleavened bread. The disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? And he said, Go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, The Master saith, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12, and as they did eat, he said, Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And he answered, and he said, He that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goeth as it is written of him, but woe unto the man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, Thou hast said. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it, and brake it, and gave it to the disciples, and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup, and gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. What is the name that we call the breaking of bread and drinking of blood now? This was the Passover, where 12 disciples and Jesus got together to have a meal in remembrance of Christ because he knew he was going to die. We call it today communion, and we do it to show remembrance of Christ. The Old Testament required a blood sacrifice for sins to be forgiven, which is why Jesus said his blood shed for the remission of sins so that we could have an advocate through Jesus with the Father. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And when they had sung an hymn, they went out unto the Mount of Olives. Then saith Jesus unto them, All ye shall be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. Peter answered and said unto him, Though all men shall be offended because of thee, yet will I never be offended. Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, that this night before the cock crow thou shalt deny me thrice. Peter said unto him, Though I should die with thee, yet I will not deny thee. Likewise also said all the disciples. So Peter was ready to die for Christ, but Jesus declared that he would deny him 3 times before the cock crowed. What would have caused Peter to deny Christ? I think Peter was all talk. When push came to shove, he did not want to be persecuted with Christ. Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and saith unto the disciples, Sit ye here, while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then saith unto them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here, and watch with me. And he went a little further, and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. And he cometh unto the disciples, and findeth them asleep, and saith unto Peter, What, could ye not watch with me for 1 hour? Watch and pray, that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again the 2nd time and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them, and went away again, and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same words. Then cometh he to his disciples, and saith unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doeth betray me. Jesus prayed over and over and over, Let this anguish pass from me. Why was he so troubled and suffering in anguish? If we knew that a great trial had lied ahead of us, would we not begin to stress about it and get upset about it and pray about it? But unlike us, Jesus knew what the future held, and he knew what he was going to go through. He knew he was going to be beaten. He knew he was going to be crucified. He was upset. But he still said, Father, let your will be done. And while he yet spake low, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he, hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Jesus, and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they, and laid hands on Jesus, and took him. And behold, one of them which were with Jesus stretched out his hand, drew his sword, and struck a servant of the high priest, and smote off his ear. Then said Jesus unto him, Put up again thy sword unto this place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled, that thus it must be? Judas agreed to show who Jesus was by greeting him with a kiss. Why do you think that they came to arrest Jesus at night? Jesus had such a great following, especially during the daytime, thousands of people, that most likely that they would try to interfere with his arrest. It was Peter that cut the servant's ear off, and we also know that Jesus picked up the ear and put it back on the soldier. Why was Peter trying to fight back? Peter saw this arrest as defeat for Christ. but in reality it was the beginning of a victory. He had to die to be a blood sacrifice for sins. Jesus put the ear back on the soldier so that Peter could not be charged with any crimes. You can't be charged with a crime if there's no evidence of a crime. In that same hour said Jesus to the multitudes, Are ye come out as against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple, and ye laid no hold on me. But all this was done, that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. All the disciples fled, except Peter, which we see in verse 58 here in just a second. And they that had laid hold on Jesus led him away to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him afar off unto the high priest's palace, and went in, and sat there the servants to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses, and said, This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God, and build it in 3 days. And the high priest arose and said unto him, Answerest thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee? But Jesus held his peace, and the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus said unto him, Thou hast said, Nevertheless I say unto you, hereafter shall ye see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and coming in the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, He hath spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witness? Behold, now ye have heard his blasphemy. They searched high and low to find fault in Jesus, to the point where they had to try to find false witnesses to twist Jesus' words. The witness said Jesus was going to destroy the temple, and that would have been blasphemy. But Jesus actually said the temple would be destroyed, and he was speaking of his body. He said he would raise again in 3 days. What think ye? They answered and said, He is guilty of death. Then did they spit in his face, and buffeted him, and others smote him with the palms of their hands, saying, Prophesy unto us, thou Christ. Who is he that smote thee? They mocked him, they smacked him, they spit in his face. And this was just a few of the things that happened while he was detained. He was also beaten with lashes to the point that he was no longer recognizable. Some people say 39 stripes, but the Bible says Jesus was beat beyond recognition. A crown of thorns was placed on his head. He was brutally punished and then hung on a cross to die for our sins. Now Peter sat without in this palace, and a damsel came unto him, saying, Thou also was with Jesus of Galilee. But he denied them all, saying, I know not what thou sayest. See Peter seeing what Jesus is going through. Now he's not ready to go through that. And when he was gone out into the porch, another maid saw him and said unto them that were there, This fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth. And again he denied with an oath, I do not know the man. And after a while came unto him they that stood by, and said to Peter, Surely thou art one of them, for thy speech bewrayeth thee. Then began he to curse and to swear, saying, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crew. And Peter remembered the words of Jesus, which said unto him, Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And he went out and wept bitterly. Peter denied Jesus 3 times and then left and wept over what he had done. What is the logical reason why Peter denied Jesus? Because he was not ready to face persecution? But if you serve Jesus even in today's time, you will suffer persecution at some point. If you truly serve Jesus, you will suffer persecution. Matthew 27, verse 1. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. And Jesus, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned, in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? See thou to that. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself. What is the moral of Judas' story? He made a decision that he could not reverse. And sometimes in our lives, we're presented with choices. And some of these choices may not be able to be reversed. This is why we should think and pray before we make decisions and before we act. Because there's things that we can choose to do that just can't be changed once it's done. We know that Judas hung himself, and when his body hit the ground and opened up, his innards came out, most likely from hanging there, decomposition, and a really high fall. And the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, It is not lawful for to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. And was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord appointed me. They refused to put money into the treasury because the money was blood money. In other words, they knew that they hired Judas to murder Jesus. They knew that Jesus was innocent blood. So they knew that the money could not rightfully be put into the treasury. And Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, Art thou the king of the Jews? And Jesus said unto him, Thou sayest. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, Hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at that feast the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner, whom they would. And they had been a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they gathered together Pilate, and unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, Have thou nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor answered and said unto them, Whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? And they said, Barabbas. Why didn't Pilate just let Jesus go? Because it seemed like he wanted to. In an ironic twist, Pilate wanted to let Jesus go. Pilate's wife wanted to let Jesus go. But Pilate knew, however, if he let Jesus go, that he would not be the ruler any longer. So he offered a proposition in the form of Barabbas. He asked the people, Who They would rather have released Barabbas or Jesus. Barabbas was guilty of blasphemy. In fact, so ironic that Barabbas, the name Barabbas, actually means the son of the Father. Barabbas was also guilty of murder, according to the book of Mark. So the people would rather have a blasphemous murderer than to let Jesus Christ go. Pilate saith unto them, What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all said unto him, Let him be crucified. And the governor said, Why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather the tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it. Then answered all the people and said, His blood be on us and on our children. Then released he Barabbas unto them. And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Pilate let the people choose what they wanted, and he washing his hands of it. However, no doubt he was still guilty, knowing that Jesus was innocent. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall, and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him, and put him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews. And they spit upon him. They took the reed and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him, took the robe off from him, and put his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify him. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by the name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. It was traditional to have a person who would be crucified to carry their own cross before the crucifixion place, to the crucifixion place. Why couldn't Jesus carry his own cross? The Bible tells us because he was beaten so badly. He was so weak, he could not carry his own cross without help. Simon was from northern Africa. He was a Jew, and he was visiting the area because of Passover, and they forced him to help Jesus carry the cross. And when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall, and when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. Why wouldn't Jesus drink of the vinegar mingled with gall? The reason why is because gall was a pain reliever, and it would have lessened his pain. Jesus had to experience the full blood sacrifice with no pain reduction. And they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. And sitting down, they watched him there. What does it mean to have your garments parted? They took his clothes and divided them up between one another. And set up over his head his accusation written, This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Then there were two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and the other on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads, and saying, Thou that destroyest the temple, and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself. If thou be the Son of God, come down from the cross. Likewise also the chief priests mocking him with the scribes and elders said, He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the Son of God. The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. We know that later on one of the thieves repented, and Jesus told them that he would be with him in paradise. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. The time systems that the disciples would have used in that time would have been the Jewish time system. The 6th hour would have been talking about the 6th hour after sunrise, which would have been sunrise would have been approximately 6 a.m. So darkness fell upon the land at about noon, 12 p.m. Why? We can most likely attribute this to an act of God. The sky turned dark at the noon hour, in the middle of the day. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there, then they heard that, said, This man called for Elias. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reel and gave him to drink. The rest said, Let be. Let us see whether Elias will come to save him. Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. So Jesus died at approximately the 9th hour, which would have been approximately 3 p.m., according to the Jewish time scale. Why did Jesus say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? It's very simple. He was quoting Psalms chapter 22 and showing how much pain he was in. But he was not questioning God. He was fulfilling the Old Testament. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. Why was the veil rent in the temple? The temple was separated into sections: the courts, the holy place, and the most holy place. The most holy place is a place where only the priest, the high priest, could enter to pray for the forgiveness of the sins of the nation. The veil that separated the holy place and the most holy place was rent, which signified that there was no longer a barrier between God and the people. They could now reach God for themselves through Jesus Christ. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose. And they came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Now when the centurion and they that were with him watching Jesus saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, Truly, this was the Son of God. And many women were there beholding afar off, which followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering unto him, among which was Mary Magdalene, and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's children. When the even was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea, named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciple. This was a major event that shook the whole area. Everyone would have seen the sky go dark in the middle of the day. An earthquake. The veil of the temple was rent. The graves opened up. Dead were raised. Those that were in the graves went to a place that we call paradise, or Abraham's bosom, in the middle of the day. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out of the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre, and departed. And there was Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sitting over against the sepulchre. Now the next day that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that deceiver said, While he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure, that until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say unto the people, he is risen from the dead. So the last error shall be worse than the first. Pilate said unto them, Ye have a watch. Go your way, and make it sure as ye can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. They did everything in their power to make sure that the end result would be that Jesus did not get glory out of the situation. They did not want Jesus to rise from the dead. They believed his disciples would come and steal his body in the middle of the night to show that he had risen. Matthew 28. In the end of the Sabbath, as it had began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him the keepers did shake and become as dead men. And the angel answered and said unto the woman, Fear not, for I know that ye seek Jesus which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen. As he said, Come see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly, and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you. They departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell the disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying, All hail. And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. Then said Jesus unto them, Be not afraid. Go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there shall they see me. Now when they were going, behold, some of the watch came into the city, and shewed unto the chief priests all the things that were done. And they that were assembled with the elders, and had taken counsel, they gave large money unto the soldiers, saying, Say ye, his disciples came by night, and stole him away while we slept. And if this come to the governor's ears, we will persuade him and secure you. So they took the money, and they did as they were taught. And this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. This the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Jesus had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and spoke unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Jesus teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. I'm going to close with this. We could get into so many details and get deeper into all these scriptures, and we could really get deeper into all 4 Gospels and what all 4 Gospels have to say about what happened. We could talk about how the disciples ran to the tomb. We could talk about how Mary Magdalene was such a worshiper. But just to give you a broad picture of the life of Christ, this is what this 11-part series was about, to give you a broad picture of the life of Christ. I'm going to end with this. Jesus rose from the dead, and he left a promise of the Holy Ghost. I'm going to come back with a new series. I think we're going to go to the book of Revelation. I hope you enjoyed this Life of Christ series, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. As always, God bless.